Okay, let's start with the content fragment. So we discussed about experience fragment. Okay,
Okay.
now let's discuss about content fragment.
Hmm.
So experience fragments were created below the content experience fragment hierarchy. So if I go over here and if I show you the CRX/DE, so here you would see that the hierarchy for your experience fragment was content and then it was experience fragment. Okay, so here the Tojo and then your ENUS, this folder was automatically created and this is what we created yesterday. Now if I talk about uh, your content fragments are actually created below the assets folder only, where we upload our images, PDFs, all that, where the digital assets are being managed.
Hmm.
Okay, so here I have my file folder and here I have my Tojo project. Okay, so this is a folder. Here if you will go create, either you can upload any file, like the way we uploaded an image or PDF. In the same way, you can create content fragments.
Hmm.
Okay, now the same way we create pages, we create experience fragment, in the same way we create a content fragment as well by using a template only. So
Okay.
there has to be a template for creating a content fragment, but here that template is not called as template, but we call it as content fragment model.
Okay.
Okay. So just a term, a technical term that is English, which is content fragment model.
Model.
Now, why should we use content fragment? Okay, let me firstly show you how you use it and how you create it. So here I'm going to select my content fragment model, means the
Hmm.
template. So here I selected the template, but it is called as content fragment model. Okay, and if I will do next, if I will say title is my first CFO. This one. Okay. So let me open this. Okay. So what you see is that there is a text area over there. You see this text area. So how does this text area came? Is because we selected or we chose that template for the content fragment model. So that content fragment model or that template only allows us to have this text area as part of this content fragment. Okay.
So, can you one more time? Can you go back because
So
that
here,
template
when I created a content fragment, it firstly asked me for this. So since I selected my this content fragment model or the template, that is why I got this text area only. Now the thing with
the template was out of the box, or
yes, the template was out of the box. I will show you now only how you will create your own. Okay. So this with content fragment, like with experience fragment, you can use any of the component like the way you use it on pages. Okay. But content fragments are different. Here in content fragment, the purpose of content fragment is also the same, like we have for experience fragment. The purpose is again the same. So it means that on pages, you can actually on multiple pages, you can use the same content fragment. Okay, so that is the purpose. On multiple pages, you can further refer this content fragment and it can be used on to multiple pages. And again, there is a component in the same way. Yesterday we have a component with the name experience fragment that is out of box available to refer the experience fragment. In the same way, Adobe also provided out of box component to refer the content fragments on the pages. And that component is called as content fragment. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if I will create, let's say this is my first content fragment here. Okay, just this, and let me just align it to center. Bold, and you want to make it italic. Let me just save it. Okay, so this is my content fragment ready. Now, if I have to refer it, how will I do it? I will go to pages. I will go to sites. I will go to the project, new page. Here, let's use this page. And here you will get an out of box component to refer your content fragments. So here you have the content out of box component. And if you will open this, you will select, so automatically you see it gave me the DAM path. Because by default, Adobe also, of course, it knows that below the DAM only, you see, we created my first content fragment as below this part, content DAM Tojo. So that's what I'm selecting over here, content DAM Tojo, and this is what I selected. And let's say rest of the things are something like, again, there's a variation thing, that the one that we discussed. And here our text comes up. Okay. So with the headline and all.
It can be created only under DAM?
Yes.
Okay.
Content, I will tell you there is a purpose behind this. There is a reason behind this. Why Adobe has suggested or why Adobe has not suggested, but they have made a constraint only that you can create a content fragment below that DAM only. I will tell you why. Firstly, let's discuss on how you create content fragment model. So here we created the content fragment and we referred it on the page. Okay, we referred this on the page. Now, let me show you how you can create a content fragment model, that is templates for content fragment. So here you go, here you see that there is an assets where we created our content fragment. And I told you that this hammer icon is all where the authors or where the developers can do the configuration thing. So if I will go to the hammer icon, here also you see there is an asset. So here all the configuration with respect to assets are being done. So basically, with respect to content fragment also, any configuration or basically the model that we have to create, we will create it over here. Okay. So remember, the actual things are being done over here behind the scenes. So you remember, even the application also was over here, because all the configuration, all the means behind the scene things are being done in this hammer icon. So if I will go to the assets, here you will see that there is an option to create content fragment model. Okay. Remember one thing, I think I told you, all your templates, whether it's your page, whether it's your experience fragment, or whether it's your template for your content fragment, that is content fragment model, are created below the conf hierarchy. Remember this thing. Okay, these are all created below the conf hierarchy. So if I go over here, if I go to content fragment, here you see that your folder is not appearing over here. The conf folder, you can see it took me to the conf folder, but your folder is not appearing over here. But if you will see in the CRXDE, there is your folder Tojo, because that was by default created. If I go over here, because by default from our code base it got created. Okay, if I go over here, Tojo, and it will be as a part of your UI content. SRC name content, ACR root, here you see the conf folder. The conf, below that conf, Tojo is here. Similarly, below ACR root, you have content also. Content, DAM, expansion. So this conf is also a part of UI content. Okay. Now, here I have this folder over here, then why is it not visible over here? Because firstly, I have to authorize my folder that it should be able to create content fragments model. So firstly, I need to give an authority to my folder that it should be able to create content fragment model. So here you see, as of now, if I go over here, you have this Tojo settings WCM. Okay. But the time I will give my this Tojo folder the authority that it has the authority to create content fragment models, then you will see a new folder below settings will get created. Let me just show it to you. So if I will go over here, let's see how the authority is being given. So where the authority has to be given, it's inside the configuration, the conf folder, conf Tojo folder. So there is a below the general. If I go to the hammer icon below the general, there is this configuration browser, which takes us to browse and manage your configuration. So if I will go over here, you firstly select your Tojo project. You see the folder again is conf, and here I selected this. So below this, you just have to give the authority. So if I will click on the properties, here it says that the Tojo folder has the authority to create editable templates and some other things, but not content fragment model. So I will select this, and in a minute you will see below settings, a new folder will get created by the name DAM. If I will save and close, and if I will refresh it, you see, there is a damn folder got created. And now I have given the authority to my this folder that it should be able to create my content fragment models. Again, I'm showing it to you. I went to this hammer icon. Inside the general, there is a configuration folder which takes us to the conf folder only. Below this conf folder, firstly, I have to give the authority to my folder that it should be able to create these many types of files. By default, of course, that editable template was already checked, but our content fragment model was not checked. So if I will go again, you see now these three are again checked. Even
Okay.
Okay. So firstly, I gave the authority. The next thing that I will do is I will go over here and then I have to again go to my assets and my content fragment model. And here I have my, now you can see the Tojo project came. Earlier it was not over here, now it came up. Okay. Now you can go over here and you can create your content fragment model over here. If I will go, let me give it a name. First CF model. Okay, so this is my content fragment model. Let me just create this. Let me open this. Now you see how simple you will find. Let me just again open it. I don't know how this URL it is. Let me again open this and again click on it. Now you see how simple is this to add the field. Like if you want to add some single text field, just let's single text, okay, name, like let me name it as name. Okay, so the property name is again name. Remember this property name I'm always using Trojan, okay? Okay, placeholder, anything like you can give enter name. Okay. Okay, if you want to make it required, you can do it. Okay, next is if you want to drop any other type of data type, let's say number or multi-line text. Multi-line text is text area. So here will be like anything like address.
So it's mostly similar to how you were doing it in edit dialog.
Yeah. But yes, that was in the dialog, but this is our content. Yeah, it is quite similar. So if I use over here Dojo, okay, and let's add another type number, and data type will be okay. Data type will be number, and field will be like simple A. Okay, remember this property name. I will tell you what is the purpose of this. Now type can be integer or fraction. Okay, let's say default values. Let's say 0 required if you want. Okay, let me just save it. Now let me just save it. That's how simple it was to create a content fragment model. Okay, so you just drag and drops your fields are available over there. Okay, again I'm showing you all the steps because sometimes you get like people get confused. Firstly, you have to give the authority to create your content fragment model below your conf folder. So remember, all your templates, whether you are editable, whether you are page or experience fragments, or whether you are content fragment template, which is content fragment model, are created below the conf hierarchy. So to create anything below the conf hierarchy, you first have to give the authority in the configuration browser. Once you give that.
Other than, so now we created the content fragment model in conf hierarchy.
Yeah.
Other than this, I don't think we have created anything yet, right?
No. This is the first time.
First time, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But experience fragment, what did you say? What should go into conf hierarchy? Which one?
Conf experience fragment. No, conf not. It's content experience fragment. See, all the content will go inside the content hierarchy. Whether it's experience fragment, whether it's your DAM, whether it's your pages, everything. See, here you will see that there will be forms as well. So if you will create any form, that will also go away. So everything will go inside the content. Okay. So we firstly gave the permission. Once we gave with the permission, then we have to do some configuration changes. Again, sorry, basically we have to create our content fragment model. So we went inside assets. And then we went inside this content fragment model to create our content fragment model. So here you see our content fragment model is created into the Tojo.
I see.
Okay. Now again, let's go back to the starting. Sorry, let's go back to the starting. And now again, create a content fragment by using our content fragment model. Now there is one more step. Firstly, are you clear with the steps till now? Then only I will proceed, because there is
Yeah.
one more step where you okay. Great. So if I will go below the assets, files, now if you have to create your content fragment below this, you created this and you are having your that content fragment model. Now your content fragment model you have already created. So once you will create any new content fragment, you should get the option to use that content fragment model. So if I will create a content fragment model, unfortunately, still you won't be able to see your content fragment. Okay, you are able to see your first content fragment model. Okay, that's great. Okay, I will tell you. Actually, by default, you should not see it, but
Yeah.
somewhere I've already given the configuration. I will tell you about later.
Mm.
So here now, if you will go and create the content fragment, you can now select your content fragment model.
Okay.
So here I selected my content fragment model and do next. Let me give it as my second. Okay, and
Yeah.
open. Now you see you get all those options that we create, that we use in our that. Now enter name. Let me say Kojo name. Okay. And let's say the age is okay. Let me just save it. And now your new content fragment is ready by through that new content fragment model that you create. Okay. Now again you can use this content fragment. Now the important thing of this was the concept of content fragment. Now one thing or one question that would have arisen in your mind is that you could have done the same thing through experience fragment as well. Like here, we are only able to input text and some number field and some date and or some boolean, but those can be done through any of the component through the experience fragment as well. Okay, because it doesn't support the out of box component. It only supports the text, because here you cannot have any other image or cannot have anything. It can just have text within it. So here also, if you have realized, then while creating the content fragment model, there you only have the limited option to create different type of fields. Let me just show it to you again. Okay. So there you could only create some limited type of fields. Again, I'm going to assets, I'm going to content fragment model, project, and here if you would see, if I again try to edit, here you see that okay, I only have these type of, further you can refer some content fragment as well for single line text, multi-line number, boolean date, enumeration. So these are the only fields that you can use in a content fragment. It means that you can only input, somehow I can say that you can only input text in it. You
So
cannot
what
use
is
any other.
content reference? What is that?
So again, you can refer some content fragment from this content fragment.
Okay.
So find if within this your content fragment, if you want to refer some other content fragment, that is also what you can do.
Okay.
Now the main thing is, content fragment says that you can only input some text within it. Neither you can use any other your custom or out of box component. Neither you can input any image. Now, if this is the thing, then what is the exact purpose of using content fragment? Because this is somehow we can achieve through experience fragments as well. Okay. Because experience fragment also, if we have some component which helps us in inputting some text, like text component only, or the title component, so that also we can do the same thing. Agree with me? Neither we can add, neither we can have any styling over here. There, at least we were able to use in experience fragment, we were able to use our own custom component. So we have our own styling also over there. Our JS and CSS was also getting loaded. So our styling was also applied over there. But here it's just simple text. Now, what is the purpose? The purpose is when you use or when you have to use AEM as a headless CMS or content as a service there the content fragments are very much used. When I say headless CMS, let me give you an example. Like consider an ICICI Bank website. Okay. Now consider that, okay, they say that we are already on some React based application or some other application, but our content, like these figures change a lot, like these figures, 500 and 100, like they are percentage amount and these keep on changing. Now, what will happen since these figures, these amounts keeps on changing? What they will say is that behind the scene we can use AEM, and through content fragment we can expose these values. And of course, on content fragment we can change the values at any time. Like here, if you want, you can go to this content fragment and you can change any value at any point in time. Like here, the age is 20. If you say consider it was percentage or anything, now the age has to be changed. Now age can be changed at any time. Okay. Now, somehow, if the content from the content fragments can be exposed to the outside world and ICICI Bank can somehow access that content, that would be really great, because then they can automatically change the values in the content fragment and then can access that value and can refer or sorry, that value will start reflecting over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
But
also
how
the localization, no, multilingual thing, maybe
yeah,
that.
that can also be, but the primary thing is like this, like where you want to expose content, where the front end is built on some other application, behind the scene you want to expose some figures or some value or some text to the other parties using to the other parties. So how will you do that is the content fragments provides a way through which we can expose the content within this content fragment in an JSON format. So that JSON will be exposed to the outside world. So this whole JSON will be exposed to the outside world, and our this ICICI Bank website will make an HTTP call to that API, to the URL that I will show you now, and will access that JSON. And once they access that JSON, they can read that JSON and further get the values and they can update it over here. Okay. Now how that JSON firstly will be formed, let's see that. So let's again go back. So we have our content fragment ready over here. So we have our content fragment ready over here. Now, how to expose this is basically the best is we can use experience fragments again. Here, let me create an experience fragment. And within experience fragment, as we know, within experience fragment, we can use any component. So within the experience segment, let me create an experience fragment. Okay. And let me say expose here exp fragment. Okay. So here the purpose of this experience segment is to expose here for the content fragment. Okay. That's what is the purpose. Let me just create it. Let me open it. Now we already know. Let me just the URL. Now we already know experience segment is nothing but pages. So it can use all the components. So of course it can also use the content fragment component. Here I again use the content fragment on this experience segment, and I will refer the content fragment that I just created below the Tojo folder. Okay, and here is my content fragment. I selected this and let's say okay. So here all the fields are appearing. Now how will you expose it? What you have to do is just say the ICICI Bank that you use the URL, localhost or whatever, like your publisher URL it is, content experience segment all. Here master, instead of HTML, write model.json. Simple. And you see your whole content is exposed in the JSON format. This is all in the JSON format. To showcase it in a better way, you can ask them to write tidy as well. Right here, tidy. Model.tidy.json. You see, now it is appearing all good in the JSON format. And if you will scroll down, you see it gave you the whole information. You see, this is Tojo name. You remember what was Tojo name, Tojo address? The name that we gave inside the content fragment model. And these are the values that we inputted. So you see Tojo name. This is the value that we inputted. It's a text here. That's why it is appearing like this Tojo address. Similarly, the Tojo age is 30. If you change anything inside your content fragment, let me change it inside my content fragment. Let me Let me just edit this. Just a minute. Let's see. If I update the age to 35 and
Yeah.
say save, and
Hmm.
if I will refresh it,
Hmm.
see that I told you value to the ages. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Now the ICICI Bank will access this URL as an HTTP call from their front end anywhere from the back end front end, and they can read this JSON and
Hmm.
they will see that okay, this is the JSON key, the value, and they will read the value for this.
Okay. Now, question is, now you showed me how to expose this content fragment outside. Now, so similarly, if I have a page instead of experience fragment, right? I have a page and I have added some content fragment to that page.
Yeah, okay, like the way we did it.
And then the same similar URL I can do,
But
right?
that page. Oh, you mean to say if in a page we can expose the through a page if we can expose the content from.
That's my question.
See, the best practice is that you do it through your experience fragments. You can do it, but what happens is then you have to give your permissions that your page can also, like your page hierarchy can also be accessed. This is your page hierarchy. Now you can either you should give a permission that okay, it can only be accessed as an extension HTML. If you will give that okay, even the JSON extension can also be accessed. So these sort of permissions that you have to give. And that is being given at the dispatcher level. I told you about dispatcher now. I think I told you a bit. This was the dispatcher layer which does the load balancing and all, but it also does the filtering of the requests. So it prevents any vulnerable requests from coming inside your server. So we give a proper rule that okay, at any path with what all extensions, or we give a proper conditions where we say that okay, these all the what filter rule we used to apply is that every request should be blocked and some should be allowed to come in. And within that, what all should be allowed, there only we have to give that okay, the content tojo path, like our site's path is content tojo USEN. So we will say that okay, content tojo path can be accessed from the outside world. And then we'll give what should be the extension. So it is not a best practice that you should be able, anyone can be able to access your pages using the JSON extension. So that is why best is that you expose it using the experience request.
Okay. Now, the experience fragment. Let's say I have besides content fragment, I have other things also like image or different things. Okay. So other components also. Let's say.
Yeah.
And then if when I give the master dot, when I expose.
No, of course that will not be exposed because see in a JSON, can you expose the image? You cannot. Can you expose any styles? Can you expose any JS? Can you expose the styles that are being applied on the page? Can you? You cannot. You can only expose text in the JSON, na?
Some file for path we can, no? If they want.
Through path of course. So here, if you gave a path, here if you give in the address, you can give some path that you can do. That of course you can do here. So if I edit this here in the path, you can give like here in the address, you can give some path like slash content.
What I was understood. So now if I have images and everything in the experience fragment, let's say, and if I create the JSON, what will happen? It will.
You can try that by your own. You can try seeing that.
Okay, it will not pick is what
it will not pick, of course, or it all depends upon how that component works.
So it
because
basically,
see, your component would have a lot of styling, would have a lot of div tag, because ultimately in a component, in a custom or in an out-of-box component, there would be an HTML that would be working. That is the site thing. And that site you would have placed multiple div or multiple tags. Of course, those cannot be exposed now.
Right. So
only text can be exposed in JSON.
So experience fragment will only look for the content fragment and only take that one and put it in the JSON.
Yes, that's how it works. That's how we expose the content.
Okay. Oh, it only exposes the content. Okay.
Because see, in a JSON, what else you can pass? Can you pass some image? Can you pass any styling? Can you pass any JS code? No, only text can be passed. Okay. So if you have written any Yeah, you were saying.
No, yeah. In that way, so there is a rule that experience fragment will only look for content fragment and put in JSON. Other one, it will.
It's not. It's like this. Basically, the content from the content fragment is exposed, but to expose the content from the content fragment, we use experience fragment. So within the experience fragment, we place our content fragment. So experience fragment is just a mediator which helps us in exposing the content of the content. Okay.
Yeah.
In all the organization, they do not expose the JSON format of their pages. That is, of course, not at all recommended. Neither you should do it. If you want to expose the JSON format, only expose it for experience fragment. Because from there only you wanted to expose your content from the content fragment.
You know what, Sarav? I think many organizations may just use this content. Content fragment. A lot of, let's say,
I agree.
hundreds of content fragments. They will just put it, and then expose using like this. And then because it's a very, for example, ICICI website is so they are not going to use AEM or similar,
Exactly, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with
And
you. So
even
I have seen. See what happens. Either there are the content-rich websites. Either the AEM is handling all the content, and AEM is the content-rich, or there is some other tool that is content-rich, and you at AEM are only exposing the content. So that I have seen. Even there are companies which buy AEM just for DAM, just for managing their content, nothing else.
Like that's going to be the use case, yes.
So what happens in those companies? They only expose the content DAM hierarchies. They only use AEM to keep their assets and all and manage those, so that the other application, which is on which the main website is built, it can access the assets from your AEM. So AEM is only used for DAM.
Yeah, even within Adobe, right? For example, the project I am working, they have this Adobe admin console. In that also, they are using AEM, but only for localization. And then I saw that they have this content fragments, and they retrieve that content fragment for localization, just localize. That content, only labels, all the page labels, it needs to be display in different languages when accessed from different places, right? So it should show those all the labels and everything. It should show in different language. So they are only using content fragment. They're not using anything else.
Yes, I agree with you. Actually, see, what AEM provides a lot of other tools as well. Like we have Adobe Forms. So Adobe Forms does not come by default with AEM. You have to buy separate license for them. And then what they do is they provide you with a package for that, and then you install that package in your AEM. So Adobe Forms also, it doesn't come directly with AEM. You have to buy a license for that separately. If you go and just buy the license for AEM, then you won't be able to use the AEM forms. Or you would be able to use some limited functionality, not the whole functionality. The one.
So what it does, Adobe Forms, it will just basically create like Google Forms or anything similar.
Yes, it's like that only. The only thing is, like here in HTML, how you develop form is by using a whole HTML. Like you write the form tag, and then the input fields or button fields, like those. That is all HTML built. But here, again, for developing the front end part of the form, you again use the components. So use the parent component, which allows you to have the form tag, and then the child component, which is the input type, the radio button, any button, all those things. So all those are like again the drag and drop, that is for component input. Okay, let's come back. So this was all about the content fragments. How you use, how you expose content fragments and all. Okay. So basically we use, this is a variation. You see again, okay, this is a variation for the experience fragment. And then you use dot model and dot JSON. Tidy I use because I have to write it, display it in the best, like in a better manner. If you remove tidy, then also it will give you the JSON, but not in the best possible.
Okay.
So what happens? Just one more thing I have to tell you. Then you can ask your question. So here, remember, what I did is, so till this point, it was URL. This is all URL. Okay. What is this after dot? So this is after dot, there is one text. Again, there is a dot, then there is one text. And then there is dot. Then this is, of course, we know this is extension, because whatever comes after the last dot is extension. Okay. But what do we call these? These are called as selectors. Okay. So we call these as selectors. Whatever comes after dot and before the last dot of extension, between these, it is all selectors. So here I have two selectors. It's just a terminology which I'm telling you. And if I remove this, which I will talk a bit more when we will discuss what's it. Here I have just one selector. Whenever you in a URL, you see that this is the URL after dot. It's not a single text, but there are multiple dots. Then after the last dot, it is extension, and between that, it is all selected. Yeah. Oh, sorry. It is tidy. Yeah, you were asking something. Please go ahead.
So the publishing part, right? So so is there any restriction? I mean, of certain types only can be published, or anything can be published to the
No, anything can be published. See,
separately.
When I say you have to publish, you only publish your content. Whatever you publish, whatever goes, or whatever you see folder inside the UI content, those are only published. So you see, you have DAM, you have experience segment, and then there is a content tojo, which is your actual site. Similarly, your conf as well. But most of the time, conf is a part of your code, your content only. And some companies tend to check these things as well, like checking into their code. So here we created our this. Here, if I will show you, your content fragment model was created over here. WCM, then sorry, not WCM, below the tab. So here you see CFM. CFM is content fragment model, and here is our model, the first CFM model. Okay. So here are all our nodes. Now some companies tend to make it a part of your content, and some companies also checks in this. The best practice is that you make it a part of content. Now whatever is a part of content, that is checked in. So everything that goes, whatever is content that is not checked in, that is always replicated. So whatever goes below the content, you will always replicate it. So below apps, it's all your code. So code is never replicated. Code is always deployed separately on separate instance. So here we are deploying the code on author. We are deploying the code separately on 3 publisher instance. Code is all what goes inside the app. You do not replicate it. It means whatever it goes inside the content hierarchy, you replicate, and something that goes inside conf, that also you replicate. Inside apps, you never replicate anything because you never even get the option to replicate it.
So the code doesn't have to be present in the publish, because here itself we are.
Code is deployed separately, na? Code you have to deploy separately on author, separately on publisher. Content is something that you will create on the server, and then it is replicated to the publisher. So content is either your DAM asset, your pages, your experience segment, your content fragment. Everything that goes below content is all a part of your server, and that is always replicated. That is never checked in.
So content duplicate means publish to publish instance.
Yeah, that's what I said. No? Replication, activation, publication.
Everything is same. Yeah. Now you also mentioned the code is already published separately. What does that mean?
No, code is not published separately. Code is deployed like the way we are deploying the code. So it is deployed separately. It is not published. Don't use the term publishing with code.
I see what you're saying. So deploy.
So you have to deploy the code on 4502. Similarly, you have to separately deploy the code on 4503 or other publisher.
Okay. Now, when we run when we deploy, or when we publish a content, right? For example, a page I'm publishing. Now, page has multiple components. Now, in the publishing time itself, it will process, compile, render. Finally, it will put a HTML to the publish instance, right?
Yes, that it will do by itself.
So then where the code will be used in the publish instance, because already it's processed in the other side.
So you publish the content. But it means that in your publisher instance, you activated this page, Tojo you activated this content. So Ian, consider you activated this home page or new page. Okay. Now you activated this new page. So this page will get activated and will be available on the publisher instead. But behind the scene, it is saying that it has to make the use of this resource type to render these nodes. So from where does this resource will come? It will
So the
come to your
rendering
code only, no?
rendering will not happen at the time of
No, it
replication.
will the only responsibility is to make your page available on the publisher. So before replicating anything, your code should be available. Then only the thing will be.
So this replication process from author will not convert this page into an HTML file. Will not do that, right?
See, this is your page. This is your page, new page. So you are replicating this. So this page will be available over there. If you will open this page on the publisher, if your code is not deployed, what will happen? Your Sling will do the resources. It will say that, okay, I have to render this page. So below that, it has so many nodes. Let me render these as well. So once it will go and see, okay, there is a node with name this, and it will be rendered by using this resource. It will say that whether this resource is available or not. It will say, no, the resource is not available below the app hierarchy. So the page will fail its execution. Page will be available. The HTML will be available for this page. But its node won't be rendered because how this node will be rendered, how nodes for this will be rendered, the code for that is not available on the publisher instance till now.
Yeah. No, that I got it. What I was thinking is it will.
So your page will be available on the publishers.
Yeah.
Your page will be available.
What I was thinking is this component what you showed, no, the resource type Tojo / component Tojo world. That code will run here itself. At the time of publishing, it will run and it will make the the final output. It will integrate everything together and push it to the instance is what I thought. So in that case, at the instance, this resource code won't be necessary is what I was thinking.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So this resource type Tojo component Tojo world, right? So that if it's processed here, right, other time, then it won't be necessary to be present there, right? So in that way, we don't need the code to be deployed there, right?
Why code still needs to be there, man? Where are you confused? Like, see, let me just say it again. Let me just say it again. Okay. When you replicate, what you will replicate? You will replicate only your page. Okay. Now, for executing this page, you need to execute, or your AEM need to execute all these nodes.
So execution is not happening at the time of publication. Publishing execution is not happening. Okay, that's
how
what rendering.
Execution happen. Execution is the responsibility of server. How is the execution is the responsibility of
rendering the page is not happening.
Yeah, rendering is the responsibility of server. Replication responsibility is only to make your page available.
So the one we saw, whenever we were looking at, right? So that was only preview. Maybe the one we were after that we will look into. Is that the server or 4503 or 02 we were looking at to see the page?
That was our publisher server.
Oh, okay. That is the reason you are showing there. Okay. So okay. Now I'm getting it. So here no rendering happening. It's just putting it there. Just
the responsibility of replication is just to make your content available on publisher instance. It will package your page. It will put that page over here. Nothing else. See, for rendering anything, you need your tools, you need server, you need your Java, everything. How a replication agent can do that thing now? You need to have your code available on your server. Your content will be available on the server through your application agents. Once you have your code, then only the page will be executed. If you have your content without the code, how will the content will be rendered without the code? Because ultimately, within this content, it is referring the code only. Okay.
Is
it clear now?
Code is there in the author instance also, but it will not use that code to render at the time of publishing.
Yes. Code has to be deployed separately.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.